The Zephyrian neural interface hummed with anticipation as Dr. Kethvar adjusted the crystalline probes one final time. After months of studying the captured human specimen, the alien scientist believed he had finally cracked the code to accessing the primitive creature's consciousness. The human, a female named Sarah Chen according to their databases, sat unconscious in the containment field, her brain patterns dancing across the monitoring arrays in chaotic waves that defied all Zephyrian understanding of neural architecture. Initiate. Connection protocol, Kethvar commanded, his four arms moving in practiced synchronization across the control surfaces. The other researchers in the sterile white laboratory leaned forward with interest. This would be the first successful mind meld with a human, a breakthrough that would unlock the secrets of Earth's surprisingly resilient species. The neural bridge activated with a soft chime, and Kethvar felt the familiar sensation of his consciousness expanding beyond his physical form. For centuries, his people had perfected the art of mental intrusion, able to slip into any sentient mind like water through cracks in stone. No species had ever resisted their psychic probes until they encountered humans. As Kethvar's awareness touched the edges of Sarah's mind, he expected to find the usual orderly corridors of thought, memories filed away in neat categories, emotions flowing in predictable patterns. Instead, he found himself standing in what appeared to be a cluttered apartment, filled with an impossible mixture of items. Childhood toys sat next to quantum physics textbooks. Family photos were scattered among half-finished engineering schematics, and a cat that shouldn't exist in a memory space was somehow purring on a couch made of condensed starlight. Fascinating, he murmured, both aloud and mentally. The human consciousness lacks any semblance of organization. That's when he heard the voice. "Oh, we have organization," Sarah said, materializing beside him in her mental landscape. She wore casual clothes and held a steaming cup of coffee that smelled impossibly real. "It's just not the kind you'd recognize." Kethvar spun around, his mental projection flickering with surprise. "Impossible. You should be unconscious. The sedatives work great on the body," Sarah interrupted, taking a sip of her coffee. "But my mind? Well, that's a different story. See, you made a fundamental mistake about human consciousness." Before Kethvar could respond, the apartment around them began to shift and expand. The walls stretched outward, revealing vast networks of interconnected rooms, each one containing different aspects of Sarah's life and mind. But more disturbing were the doors, thousands of them, some barely cracked open, others sealed with chains and many more that seemed to lead into absolute darkness. "You assumed," Sarah continued, walking toward one of the chained doors, "that human minds work like yours. Logical, hierarchical, accessible." She gestured to the chaos around them. "But we're not built that way. We're built for survival, adaptation, and most importantly—" She smiled, and Kethvar felt a chill run through his mental form. "We're built for war." The chain door creaked open, and Kethvar felt something ancient and terrible stir within the darkness beyond. Suddenly, the pleasant apartment dissolved, replaced by a vast library with shelves that stretched infinitely upward. But these weren't books. They were human experiences, memories, knowledge accumulated across millennia of conflict, discovery, and sheer stubborn persistence. "Every human carries the genetic memory of survivors," Sarah explained, now appearing in military fatigues, then as a scientist in a lab coat, then as a child with dirt-stained knees, her form shifting to represent the countless generations that had contributed to her mental architecture. We survived ice ages, plagues, wars, disasters that would have wiped out more civilized species. And you thought you could just walk into that kind of mind? Kethvar tried to retreat to sever the neural connection, but found himself unable to move. The human's consciousness wasn't just defending itself, it was actively pursuing him through the link. He watched in horror as tendrils of human thought began flowing back through the neural bridge, carrying with them something his sophisticated mind had never encountered. Pure, unfiltered human chaos. "The thing about human brains," Sarah said, now appearing as multiple versions of herself, each representing different aspects of her personality, "is that we're not just individuals. We're collective experiences. Every story we've ever been told, every movie we've watched, every book we've read, it all becomes part of us. And right now, you're getting the full download." The laboratory erupted in alarms as Kethvar's body convulsed in the physical world. His fellow researchers watched in panic as their most sophisticated neural interface began overloading, sparks flying from crystalline components that had never failed before. But the real chaos was happening in Kethvar's mind. He was experiencing human consciousness in all its contradictory glory. The ability to hold two opposing beliefs simultaneously, the capacity to feel love and hate for the same person, the strange, human talent for finding humor in the darkest situations. Mathematical equations flowed alongside half-remembered song lyrics, childhood fears mixed with adult ambitions, and through it all, an inexplicable optimism that refused to be crushed no matter how dire the circumstances. "Stop," Kethvar gasped, both mentally and physically. "I cannot process this level of disorder." "Disorder?" Sarah laughed, and her laughter echoed through the infinite library of human experience. "This isn't disorder. This is jazz, baby. This is improvisation. This is the beautiful mess that lets us adapt to anything the universe throws at us." The neural bridge finally overloaded completely, severing the connection with a flash of energy that sent Kethvar sprawling unconscious on the laboratory floor. Emergency protocols activated, sealing the facility as containment fields fluctuated wildly. When Kethvar finally regained consciousness 3 days later, he found himself forever changed. The ordered pathways of his Zephyrian mind now contained traces of human chaos, fragments of earth music, half-remembered jokes, and an inexplicable craving for something called pizza. His fellow researchers studied him with a mixture of fascination and fear, documenting how exposure to human consciousness had fundamentally altered his neural patterns. Sarah Chen, meanwhile, sat in her cell with a small smile on her face. The aliens had wanted to study human minds, but they had learned the hard way that humans didn't just think differently, they thought dangerously. And somewhere in the facility's main computer, carried along by the neural feedback, pieces of human ingenuity were already beginning to work their way through alien systems. The invasion fleet might have captured her body, but her mind? Her mind was already planning humanity's comeback, one beautifully chaotic thought at a time.